podcast, and I'm your host, James Roberts. Before we get started with this week's show, first off, let me take this opportunity to welcome back the regular listeners. And if this is your first time listening to the show, I hope you enjoy this episode and decide to subscribe to the show. Today's episode is going to be slightly a bit different. It's going to be a short one with just me. In today's episode, I'm going to cover what constitutes the 80-20 diet. It's basically looking at eating healthily, looking at splitting it, eating 80% of the time, eating clean, eating healthily more specifically, and allowing yourself to treat yourself the other 20% of the time. It's if you haven't caught the podcast or video vlog type podcast I did with Mario on Monday, he also raised that as a good point to look at. Even though you're traveling, you can also kind of enjoy that kind of balance. So be it if you're switched on at 80% of the time, you can look at going out and sampling. Obviously for him, he's in different countries throughout the year, so be it he used an example of eating sandwiches in Portugal, having a British breakfast, which I don't think is anything to boast about, other ones, and just sampling the local cuisine and not worrying about obviously going above your macronutrients for that particular moment, because you 80% of the time you are bang on. Obviously I did raise this today in one of my other groups. I did say you can to some extent have a cheat day or a couple of cheat meals a week, whereas to some degree, yes, you can have some leniency, because like I've attested to, and what Mario was saying on the podcast, if you're bang on 8% of the time, it's not that bad to a certain extent, having that little treat here and there. Obviously Layne Norton brought this up with his podcast, that to some degree, if normally when you associate a cheat meal, it's with type of bro science kind of diet, and obviously they're gonna stick to it. Obviously, well, say for example they'd have the cheat meal on a Sunday, for example. Obviously they'd be bang on for it for the Monday to Saturday. Obviously they're gonna have that cheat meal, whereas he said there was scientific evidence that looked at it, that kind of dieting as opposed to flexible dieting, and what was surprising from the results was, if you were dieting like that, you're going to have 3,000 more calories from that one meal, as opposed to if you were flexible dieting and you spread it across the week. So to kind of wrap that all up, it's a great quote I've seen today. It's better to be consistently good as opposed to be inconsistently great. And before I forget, I would really appreciate it if you would be so kind as to leave a short written review, as it helps to get the podcast more notoriety, and it would be more visible in future to others, and thus helping more people, which my guests and I are all about. Once again, thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time for another episode of the Mindset Game Podcast.